Assalamu alaikum. So up until this point, I've only been talking about the experience of converts at mosques, but I've kind of been not talking about the other type of situation, and that is when, and there's a lot of white converts that come out of a tertiary education. Okay, so universities, not so much colleges, because universities tend to have student groups on campus, especially left-leaning student groups, politically active student groups. So there's a lot of a lot of times you get these white liberal kids from like small towns where it's 95% white, or the countryside, and they end up going to university, and it's the first time ever. This might be the first time they ever meet people from different backgrounds. That includes Muslims. So like a lot of converts in universities, they converted because, not because, but it may have been the door that opened them to knowing so many Muslims, and that's type of Palestinian activism, for example, or feminist activism, right? So, and when they do convert, they kind of become a novelty, and I'm not discounting their sincerity. I mean, like, I'm sure they're very sincere, but a lot of the times they'll put they'll want to be in like the spotlight just because they have this zeal, because A, they converted, and B, they want to be involved in this type of activism. So I can see why it would make a lot of the Palestinian community, or different youth from the Muslim community, especially that kind of like the non-practicing ones, or the ones who are kind of half and half, why it would upset them so much, because it's basically their movement. And when you see this convert with all this zeal kind of take over that, and just be the most vocal, or the one in the spotlight, it can create a lot of animosity. And the religious Muslims, like the MSAs, they tend to be more apolitical, believe it or not. So they're the ones saying, no, 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 we shouldn't criticize this person. They just converted and everything. We should kind of support them as much as possible. And you guys don't know what you're talking about. This person's quote unquote much better than you are in terms of faith, which is a horrible thing to say. For everyone involved. But if there was, an organization such as ours, it would give a different focus for sons and daughters of Europe who converted to Islam, and that they're concentrating on their practice, learning their religion, and just easing into it, and helping their family members come to terms with the fact that their son or daughter has changed their faith. So this brings up another topic as well, in that Muslim leadership, whether you're talking about the Muslim Students Association or imams, they know that that converts, especially white converts, don't have a very high long shelf life, right? Many of them slide back. You don't see them again. They may end up leaving Islam altogether. They may not leave Islam and still believe it in their heart, but just quit the idea of being with a community. So they may just practice it on their own, or just practice it in their own way. So when they get this convert, they tend to overcompensate by showering them with gifts. And there's a latent kind of resentment sometimes from different Muslim communities toward the West. Not all the time. A lot of them don't. Some of them don't feel that way, but there's always this sense that because this person quote unquote renegade, we need to make up for the fact and keep them in the community, because we need them. So they'll give them the prayer mats, and the free Qurans, and the free books, and the trips to Mecca, and in turn, and a lot of the times the white convert will do this. They'll want to be like really heavily involved in the community, which is great, and I'm not discrediting that at all. And we shouldn't discount any good deed. But this, like you can tell that they treat us differently than, say, for example, African American converts. The reasoning behind that, I mean, let's be honest. In the West, especially in North America, especially in the eyes of Muslim communities, the main enemies of Islam or Islamophobes, if you will, are are white. They're our relatives, or our aunts, our uncles. Those are the people who are coming to the mosque protests. It's the white guys with the MAGA hats. And that's basically it's basically almost like exclusively all white crowd. So when they get this white convert, this is like, oh, we have an in now. We have, this is like a human victory cigar, and we want to support this as much as possible because there's much higher stake involved now. For African American converts, a lot of the times they may think, and this is, I'm not saying this is right, but they'll think, black people are quote unquote already on our side. There's millions of black Muslims already in the United States. Even if they're not Muslim, they're still, a minority in America, so they understand our struggle. And, and a lot of them, times it's kind of hard to tell the difference between if they're talking about black people or just Muslims in general. So there's so much overlap. So I guess there's less urgency when a black person converts to Islam, and they already have a sub community, right? So they already know that there are people from their background that they can, can relate to, So that's just some of the kind of like the psychological factors involved, and the convert will feed into this too. It's like I said, they get ostracized from their family. They get ostracized from their community. So when they come into this Muslim community, every time they get, gifts and food and things like that, it's like dopamine hits, boom, boom, boom. They just can't get enough of it, until it finally crashes. And that's when, a lot of converts will just crash and just once they start committing sins again, they just feel so much shame that they don't want to go back to the, look the Muslim community in the eye. So, and I'm generalizing here. I mean, there's some mosques have been really great at integrating a lot of converts. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention, I mentioned this in a previous video, is that white converts tend to get way more marriage proposals, right? So it's not, you're right, it's unfair. And again, life is unfair. But I just think that on our end, it's better if we kind of just take a step down from this kind of white savior cycle that's perpetuated by the mosque environment or the MSA environment, by having our own sub-community where we're working on our issues. That way we're just like all these other different Muslim sub-communities that are already existing, right? And our struggle is different. It's qualitatively different. Even the type of Islamophobia that we experience is different from the rest of the community, by and large. So, and again, I stated this in videos before, we're never arguing for separatism, right? So it's just when you see the umbrella mosque, you have everyone prays together. Sorry, my cat's here. Everyone prays together. Come on, Scully. Everyone prays together. Everyone eats together. Everyone fasts together. But at the same time, we each have our own communities, and I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that at all. So I'm going to move on to part 3, get my cat out of the way, and we'll just go on from there.